James Island is a great place to call home. Now, it's not Mount Pleasant, but I think it could be better. In this video, we're going to find out if James Island is right for you.
As you can see, we're looking at a map overlay of Charleston. Here is downtown Charleston over here. And Charleston County extends into different areas. You have Daniel Island, you have West Ashley, you have Johns Island, and you have James Island and Folly Beach down over here. So we're going to focus specifically on James Island here today. And James Island is essentially this area south of the Stono River, and this is the intercoastal waterway that connects the Stono to the Charleston Harbor, and it runs down along the Stono here and wraps around basically Morris Island and sort of through Folly River, and separating Folly Beach. So this area is James Island, and you can see pretty clearly location is just south of Charleston, and it's very close to Folly Beach. It's close to Johns Island. It's close to West Ashley. It's pretty much close to everything, right? But when you're living on James Island, it's a completely different way of life than, say, Mount Pleasant. Okay, Mount Pleasant is a larger area. It's a lot more built up, and we can get into that in a different video. But today, let's focus on James Island. First thing I want to focus on is traffic areas, all right? So if we look at traffic areas here on James, here are your major routes on and off the island. You pretty much only have a few, right? So you have Route 30 here, which is commonly known as the James Island Expressway, or the JIE, as the locals call it. And if you're living like I do on the north side of James Island, pretty much everybody here is going to be coming from, say, Fort Johnson Road up Harborview here. You have a lot of subdivisions that live over here that come up this way. You have people that live in Fort Johnson down here. Everyone's traveling up Harborview Road to get to basically Route 30, the JIE, the James Island Expressway. And from there, they're pretty much going north, either to downtown Charleston, where the Crosstown is, which is the name of this road over here that leads up to 26. So you're going up 30 to the Crosstown, or you're leaving James Island. Maybe you're going to the end of Folly Road here, and you're going up Folly Road to get onto 17, which brings you to 526, which leads you further up north to, say, North Charleston and areas like that. So when you look at the traffic areas, and I'll switch back over here like this, you pretty much have routes. If you're going to North Charleston from James Island and you live over here, you're going to find that there will be some traffic here. Your traffic eases up a little on the James Island Expressway, a little bit in the Crosstown, and then it's pretty decent going north. There's not a lot of traffic going north from James Island. A lot of the traffic here in the morning is coming south. All right, everyone's coming from Somerville, North Charleston. There are so many people that live in these areas that if you're living up north and commuting down south to, say, downtown or Mount Pleasant or Johns Island or James Island or West Ashley, you're going to hit a lot of traffic. Going north in the morning is not so bad, but you will see some traffic in this area on Harborview, specifically right along this stretch of Harborview Road. There's only one stoplight here, and if we zoom in, we can actually see it. It's right over here, right? So this is the one stoplight that we have off of Harborview Road. So everyone's coming up from this direction here, going towards the highway, going towards James Island Expressway, and it's pretty congested, okay? This road can get backed up in the morning a fairly good amount. It can get backed up all the way past, the Harris Teeter complex down over here. So you've got a lot of people that are basically coming from down here all the way up and getting trapped by that stoplight. Once you break through that, it's pretty easy, clear sailing up in this direction. Now, if we're going to focus on this side of James Island, I'll take you through some amazing subdivisions. This area over here is the Stiles Point Plantation. This is the villages of Stiles Point. It's beautiful, new construction homes, okay? Location is fantastic, right? The development itself is super clean. It's super nice. These are the types of homes that you're going to see here. All of these homes are pretty much in the $1.2 million range, okay? These properties over here are beautiful. You also have the original Stiles Point Plantation. So you've got the villages at Stiles Point over here. You've got the villages, and then you have Stiles Point over here. And this is just basically the old subdivision. So I'll drop a, guy here, and you can see this style of homes here. Beautiful homes again, but they're different, right? A little bit more growth. They've been here since pretty much the 1980s, maybe the 1990s. Very similar price point as well. You might find homes a little bit less money than those other new construction properties or newer construction properties. These are a few years old now, but 2018 to 2019 range when they were all built. in this area right here. So you'll see that these homes over here command more money because they're newer, and the homes over here, depending on where you're at, you can find them for a little less money unless they're up along the water, right? If you've got some waterfront homes over here, absolutely gorgeous. All of these homes have deep water access, Charleston Harbor. These are very expensive back over in this area. Paul Revere Drive is a very expensive area, and it's a beautiful spot. So that is a little bit of the northern side of James Island here, subdivision-wise. Now, same thing when you're moving back down into these areas back in here. You have Melton Peter Dimitri Park. You have the James Island Yacht Club. Again, similar style subdivisions. These homes are going to be a little less money depending on the condition, but they might be, say, $700,000-$800,000 compared to 1.2. But you can see the types of roads and homes back in here. There's even some dirt roads over here, and that North Sterling actually leads out to Melton Peter Dimitri Park. Sunrise Park is what we call it over here. You also have the Yacht Club back over here, which is a great spot. There's a viewing area too. This is from the park itself. People go down here. There is a beach down here. This is at the beach of Sunrise Park here. So you can go down there, find shark's teeth. People do go down there to sunbathe. I wouldn't necessarily recommend swimming, but you could. You also get access down to Fort Johnson on this side of James Island. So this side of James Island up here, okay, is a lot more sleepy subdivision, nice spots, not too crowded, pretty much all built in like the 1980s. You even have some subdivisions on the other side of Harborview over here that are a little newer. So if we drop down into this area over here, you can see some of these homes, nice subdivisions here. Again, $700,000 and some odd thousand. Now you can get a house for maybe $600,000 right now. We're in October of 2024. You might be able to find something at $600,000. It's probably going to be small, and it's probably going to be just builder grade quality material, right? You've got original carpet, you've got Corian type countertops, builder grade material. Nothing is really updated. That's pretty much what you're going to get price point wise. There are some older subdivisions here too on this side of James. You have, let's see, you got Regatta, you've got Harris Teeter, here's Quail over here, so Quail Road, and ranch homes, right? 1960 ranch homes. I will show you a house right now that is under contract right around the corner. It's one of these homes. There's not a sign up or anything like that. But one of these ranch homes right here is under contract, and it was 1,100 square feet. It was decently renovated. It's under contract right now in October at $515,000. Now, the benefit of living over here would be the ability for you to have access to, say, the James Island Recreation Complex, which is right over here. Right, so there's baseball fields, there's parks, there's things for kids. The school itself is right over here. So the high school is over here, so the kids can it'd be tough to walk from this area, but you could definitely get to the park. The other areas over here, you could definitely bike ride over to the school. But you have the Harris Teeter complex, and I know it's funny to be like, oh, you live next to a Harris Teeter, that's amazing. Well, there's actually a lot of really cool little places in here. So there's a couple of really cool bars. This is old now, but you've got the Harborview Tavern is now Odyssey Bottle Shop. It's a great spot. There's a coffee shop here. This is now a Coastal Crust Pizza over in here. So you do have the Harris Teeter area. There's a car wash over here. There's a Starbucks inside the Harris Teeter itself, but you have these restaurants over here. So you've got the Ahi Asian Bistro, which is fantastic, right here, beautiful. And then Smith Family Dry Cleaners, which was this building, is now the Harlow. It's a burger and oyster bar. So what's going on is there's a lot of people that are moving into this area. And for example, if you lived in this subdivision right here, you can be 10 minutes from downtown Charleston, right? You can be 15 to 18 minutes from Folly Beach, and you can live, in homes that look like this, and you can golf cart right down to those areas. So a lot of people are golf carting to get groceries. They're taking the golf cart across the street, and they're going over here. They're going to Coastal Crust Pizza. If you look on the side of Coastal Crust Pizza, there's a soccer field right here. See this? So all the families bring their kids here. They're playing soccer. They're kicking the ball around. They're doing all types of fun stuff. The parents go down, they eat pizza, drink beer, and the kids play soccer and tire themselves out. And then they get in their golf cart, and they just go home. And they're either going in here to that subdivision we just saw, or they're going back in here to that subdivision we showed earlier that had, $700,000-$800,000 properties. You can get something in the sixes, right? I mentioned that, but it's going to be builder grade. So this is that area inside of James Island. It's a fairly desirable side of James Island. So moving along to the Folly Road side of James Island here, and this right here is Folly Road. And this goes all the way down to Folly. This will lead you all the way down to Folly Beach, Folly Road. And you can get to Folly Beach from up here on James Island by cutting through here. You can go down Fort Johnson to intersect Folly. You could even go back roads a little bit farther to beat some traffic and go down to Folly Road this way. On this side of James Island, you've got some very desirable spots too. So Riverland Terrace is probably one of the more desirable spots on James Island. It's a very expensive place to live. I'll drop a little pin in here. And a lot of these homes are renovated. They might be smaller homes, but they're renovated properties, very wooded, very beautiful little properties back in here. And some of them are on the water as well, but Riverland Terrace is a very desirable spot. I'll see if I can pull up a couple of waterfront homes. You might not be able to see. Okay, you can see them over here, right? So you're on Wapu, might get a good view of a house here. So this is on the water side here, right? So you get some gated properties over here in Riverland Terrace. Here's another gated property back in here. And here's a ranch house that you might see that hasn't been renovated, that might sell for, say, $900,000, okay? So Riverland Terrace, super desirable. Why is it desirable? Well, you do have the golf course over here, right? So a lot of people who want to golf, you can just walk right from the golf course, right from your house and go golfing. Okay, you also have some areas over here like the Charleston Poorhouse, which is a music venue. So they do live music. They do all types of cool stuff in here. There's also a farmer's market behind the poorhouse in this area back in here. So this is pretty much the farmer's market area. You've got farmer's market parking over here. There's the Charleston Sports Pub over here. And then up a little farther north over here, there's a ton of other places to eat. A couple of restaurants. I'll just drop you in here. You can take a look. So we'll clear that off. So you've got the taco spot, crust pizza, whatever you've got in here, little shops, right? So it's a cool little spot, and you can walk to it from Riverland Terrace in some of these areas. If you're leaving this area and going and commuting into town, again, your only way really here is going to be along the street here, 700, and over to Folly Road and north up the end of Folly Road. Now, what happens over in this area occasionally is you might hit traffic because this is a bridge, and this bridge will let ships come through. And if that does happen, you're going to be sitting in traffic for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and it might back up over here. The negative side about living in this side of James Island is you're going to face all of the people that live over here on Johns Island that are commuting. They're all going to come right down here, and they're all going to go right down here, because there are only two ways to leave. There's only one way to leave James Island to go to Johns Island. There's two ways to get onto Johns Island. But this is it. So if you're commuting back to Riverland Terrace, you're going to probably sit in Johns Island traffic, even though you're not even going to Johns Island. So it's just going to happen. You'll probably even sit on Folly traffic if you're coming down in this area. Let's focus a little bit more in the central area here of James Island. So I'm just going to drop a little guy in here and you can kind of see. So this is what a lot of James Island is. A lot of James Island is older subdivisions like this with ranch homes, families kind of walking around here, and they're maybe 1,200 square foot homes. Now these are non-HOAs, okay? A lot of these areas are non-HOAs. There's nice renovated ranch house and nice landscaping here. So people like these areas because right here, right? You can throw your boat here and no one's going to say anything. If you wanted to do that in the villages at Stiles Point, you can't do that because you're in an HOA. Some of those other areas we saw, you're in HOAs. But you have to just find the right roads. Like this road isn't bad at all. You've got some nice homes here. It's pretty clean. There are some areas in James Island that need a little bit more work. They're a little bit more rural. They don't have as much money going into them. It's not like you're living on the water over here in some of these other areas. So you're just going to have to pinpoint an area that you want to live in, or maybe your budget is going to dictate that. Now, on the side of James Island, you do have the James Island County Park, which is a great spot. We can take a look at that as well. There's tons of things here for kids to do. In the winter, you can drive through the county park and see all these lights displays and things like that. So that's cool. But there's camping over here. There's little hiking paths. There's ponds to go swim in. Here's a great, little view for you, right? So there's a lot of things on the James Island County Park area to do. And on this side of James Island, this is pretty much where like your industrial side of James Island is. So when we look basically south of, I'd say, Camp Road, right up here is where the Lowe's is basically. And everything south here is pretty industrial, right? So along this area is pretty industrial. And I'll just show you what it actually looks like when we drop in on the main road. Oh, if we can get to it. So here is Folly Road. There's a lot of shopping, restaurants. This is where your Walmart is going to be. Some other stores down here like Harris Teeter. But you're going to have places of worship. You're going to have tire shops. You're going to have anything like that, because that's pretty much where your commercial shops are. Now, there are some restaurants here along this road, but they don't really pick up until you get down towards Folly Beach, which is essentially right over in this area. There's not really a bad spot on James Island, right? It all comes down to how close you want to be to town and the beach, and are you willing to sacrifice maybe, this style of house? If you want to live in a beautiful, 2,800 square foot house in a great area on James Island, be prepared to maybe spend upwards to $1 million. If you're okay with living in 1,100 square feet and you've got a budget of say $450,000, well, you can find that too. It's just not going to be renovated. That's what my clients are running into, and that's what a lot of the buyers moving into this area are finding. Because James Island is a desirable spot, there is a lot of upward pressure in the price point because people are moving here. Now, this is what's cool about James Island. There was a battle here in the Civil War, and it is in the Secessionville Historic District, and it was Fort Lamar was the name of the fort. Here's Fort Lamar Heritage Preserve. You can go down there and kind of walk around. There's really not much here anymore, but this is where Union troops and Confederate troops fought to save the fort from the Union. And what's pretty crazy, if you go back to the beginning of this video, you'll see a sword and a letter behind me. That's from my great-great-great-great-grandfather, who was stationed down in Hilton Head. He was a cavalryman in the Union Army, and they rode down in steamboats with their horses and then made their way up from Hilton Head and landed across the Stono River over here, right over here. They came up this road and came back in and came up this way to Fort Lamar. So there was a battle there. The Union troops lost. There were a good amount of casualties. I think there were a couple hundred casualties here. And the Confederates, they won. So there's a little bit of history here on the island as well. I hope that helps kind of clear up a little bit about what James Island is and what it has to offer. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. Happy to answer. And also, if you want me to do an overview of any of these other areas in Charleston, let me know. I'd be happy to do that.